If you're a student looking to ace all your exams in school this upcoming semester or year, then look no further because I'm going to show you guys 8 study-based hacks that's actually proven to help students ace their exams. Whether you're in high school, college, master's student, or whatever it is, I'm going to share you all 8 hacks right now. The first hack that I want to show you guys is called active recall. What active recall means is that you're actually actively recalling information from your head instead of passively reviewing your notes. So instead of reading over what you have, you're actually testing yourself on the material. Now this is going to be called the testing effect, and it actually has shown that it helps students improve more and remember more during their exams. So what does this mean? How can you apply this to your studying? Well, for example, after you're reading your notes and you're reading the textbook, you can maybe close the book and try to rewrite and recall what you can from your head. And then maybe later on, you can compare the two between the book and what you've just written off the top of your head and see what areas that you missed, and those areas are probably the ones that you need to improve on and reread again and again until you remember it. Now, a useful tool that you can use as well is flashcards, where you can write definitions and terms and use that as a testing method instead of just reviewing and reading everything in your notes. This is why a lot of students actually opt in to use flashcards, because actively recalling what they have in their mind actually helps a lot better when it comes to the exams. Tip number 2 is called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition just means you're distributing your study time instead of cramming everything in one session. And by doing so, it actually helps your memory consolidate information, so that way you can actually remember more and build over that memory over a period of time. This actually helps a lot with long-term retention, as well as helping students understand more complex subjects than those simpler ones. You could use apps like Anki or Quizlet over increasing intervals, like 1 day, 3 days, a week, and space it out over time using your time management skills to study the materials in multiple sessions rather than just one session. So for example, maybe you're learning biology or chemistry. You can review the material today and then save some time to review the material again 3 days from now, and then maybe a week from now, until leading up to the exam, until it's finally exam time. This way, by repeating the study sessions, you're actually building over your memory over and over again, reinforcing what you have learned in your mind. Tip number 3 is called interleaving practice. So what does this mean, right? It's actually the practice of mixing different topics in one study session rather than just focusing on one sole thing. Now, why is this helpful? Some may say it's contradictory, but actually some research found that it's actually better to do this because you're able to distinguish between concepts. So if you're learning about one thing and you're learning about another thing, you can actually distinguish the difference, like, oh, okay, well, concept A doesn't have the things that concept B has. This approach has actually been found more effective rather than just studying and solely focusing on one thing at a time. So for example, if you're studying psychology and you're learning about memory or personality, you could try to study both topics at the same time. So that way you can actually distinguish, okay, well, memory's definition is this, and how does it differ from personality, right? If you're able to compare A and B, you're actually able to know, like, okay, what A isn't and what A really is, and what B isn't and what B really is as well. So this way it helps you differentiate 2 different things rather than focusing one thing at a time that you have nothing to compare to. Tip number 4 is concept mapping. Concept mapping actually means that you're creating visual representations of what you're studying rather than just writing down textual notes, right? This means that you're actually actively drawing diagrams, you're connecting arrows, you're making boxes, you're making circles. Whatever visual aspects and elements that you may need, you're writing it down on your notes. If you're a visual learner, this will help you a lot, okay? So never be afraid to draw lines, never be afraid to draw boxes in your notes, because this can help tremendously. For example, if you're learning processes, if you're learning systems, right? Like what maybe you're in biology, you're learning the digestive system or the respiratory system. You can draw arrows, you can draw boxes, and maybe even text bubbles of what every element does and how does it connect, what it's connected to, and how it's intertwined within one another. A pro tip is to use a large notebook, so that way you can actually diagram a lot and connect boxes. So that way you don't have different things in different pages, but rather just have one big diagram. Or you can use tools like Lucidchart online, Draw.io, or Canva whiteboards online. So that way you have unlimited space and you can drag and drop and create study material that way, where you're not limited to any constraints of page sizing. Tip number 5 is to teach others what you've learned. Now, this is actually a really effective method because by teaching others, you're basically relearning the material twice, which in the end is actually helpful for yourself. So what I did back then when I was in person college, I actually gathered a group of students who were my friends and classmates at the time, and we actually would create study sessions where one of us would kind of go over the material And turns out whoever was teaching during that study session's time actually retained the information much better than those who just kind of listened in, right? And that's because your peers may ask questions and your classmates might ask questions to you if you're teaching the material, and they may be questions that you have yourself. So maybe it'll help you understand the concept better if you're teaching somebody the material. Now, you don't even need classmates to do this. You could even teach to a family member. You can even teach to a friend that may not even be in the same topic or same major as you, but you can see how much they understand from your teaching, which also kind of correlates to show that how much you understand on the material, right? They may have questions, and can you explain it better and can you explain it effectively to those who actually don't understand the material? And that's how you know that you truly understand that material that you're studying. Tip number 6 is to do practice tests. There are a lot of resources online that can help you do this. For example, Quizlet. Quizlet probably has a lot of different materials in what you're studying in. So if you're studying in biology, if you're studying in chemistry, political science, art history, whatever it is, I'm pretty sure they have a lot of flashcards and practice test material online for you to use. Not only that, but it also helps for you to time yourself. So maybe you could create some of that pressure that would apply in the classroom when you're taking an exam for real, because obviously you're going to be time limited, right? You could see how quickly and how accurately you could answer questions correctly within a certain amount of time. You could also look at the textbook that you're studying in and answer those questions in the bottom or at the end of every chapter, and check the answer key to see if you're answering them correctly and if you're understanding the concepts. Now, tip number 7 is to utilize multiple resources. So if you're studying and you have your notes down, you may just constrain yourself to only study your notes and that's about it. But you can actually go on YouTube and other websites to learn a lot more about what you've learned in the classroom outside of the professor or teacher and outside of your notes. So a lot of resources like the Organic Chemistry Tutor or Khan Academy on YouTube, they're all great in terms of explaining things. And you can always read the comments. You can always read other forums online on how to solve equations and how to solve problems. So that way you're not just constrained to what you have, but rather using all the resources online, since we have the privilege of using the internet and having all information accessible within our fingertips. And last but not least, this is kind of the most important thing, but it's to take regular breaks and physical activity. So obviously if you're studying in long period sessions of time, maybe you've studied 3 or 4 hours, you need to take a break, right? You need to put your mind somewhere else so you could clear it up, you don't have brain fog, and you could just continue to focus later on. Research and science also shows that by conducting physical activities, such as maybe walking around the park, maybe even walking around the neighborhood, getting out of your chair, doing stretch, doing a little bit of yoga, can actually help your brain focus a little bit better later when you come back into your material. So that way you can have a fresh mindset. You could kind of just, think about something else and come back to it later when you're more cleared up, when you're focused. And it's also important to stay hydrated and take in healthy nutrition, such as eating foods, so that way you could de-stress properly and recharge your energy for those longer study sessions that you're going to have later on for the exam. Now, with these 8 hacks that I've shared, hopefully you guys find it useful. I wish you all students the best of luck in your upcoming exams and quizzes, as I am a student myself and I'll be applying all these 8 hacks that I've just shared with you guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like and hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.